placeholder, unable to retrieve the chapter. Attempted to fetch from atrab.com/novel/399/. The remnants of the Uchiha are forced to save the ninja old chapter 141, failed with error. Fetching dotarb.com/apeter, get return network error 521. I couldn't retrieve the chapter from the link due to the network error you included. Please paste the chapter text here or upload it, and I'll edit it into coherent, idiomatic English. Chapter 143, content unavailable. The chapter could not be retrieved from http://wtr.com/novels/net remnants of the Uchiha are forced to save the ninja world, chapter 143, due to a network error. Fetch failed with error 521. This is a placeholder. An attempt to fetch the chapter from atrlab.com/novel/3019/. The remnants of the Uchiha are forced to save the ninja world, chapter 144, failed with the following error. Fetch of url.com/apeter get failed. Network error 521. This is a placeholder. An attempt to fetch the chapter from atrlab.com/novel. The remnants of the Uchiha are forced to save the ninja world, chapter 145, failed with the following error. Fetch of atr.com/API's reader, that failed due to a network error. I couldn't retrieve the chapter from that link. Please paste the chapter text you'd like me to correct. This is a placeholder. Attempt to fetch chapter from dotr-lab.com/novel 3:30. The remnants of the Uchiha are forced to save the ninja world 47, failed with error. Fetch of URL atr.check get failed with network error 521. This is a placeholder. An attempt to fetch chapter 148 from utrtab.com/n3novel/ the remnants of the Uchiha are forced to save the ninja world, chapter 148, failed with the following error. Fetch of atr.lab.com API/reader get failed due to network error 521. This is a placeholder. Attempt to fetch the chapter from htrab.com. The remnants of the Uchiha forced to save the ninja world, chapter 149, failed with the following error. Fetch of tlab.app/reader get failed due to network error 521. This is a placeholder. Attempt to fetch the chapter from http://novel/39/. The remnants of the Uchiha are forced to save the ninja world, chapter 150, failed with the following error. Fetch of URL tutarb.com/apreader/get failed with network error 521. This is a placeholder. The attempt to fetch the chapter from htrb-lab.com/novel numerous the remnants of the Uchiha are forced to save the ninja world, chapter 151, failed with the following error. Error. Fetch of url.com ap/8reader/get failed due to network error 521. This is a placeholder. An attempt to fetch the chapter from http://novel. The remnants of the Uchiha are forced to save the ninja world 52, failed with the following error. Fetch of URL hwtr/lab.com failed due to a network error. I couldn't retrieve the chapter from the link. Please paste the chapter text here or upload it, and I'll correct it into coherent, idiomatic English. This is a placeholder. An attempt to fetch the chapter from http://wtr-lab.com 3:19. The remnants of the Uchiha are forced to save the ninja world, chapter 154, failed with the following error. Fetch of URL http://wtr.com/apeter get failed due to network error 521. I couldn't fetch the chapter from the provided link. Please paste the chapter text here, and I'll correct it into coherent, idiomatic English. Chapter 156, Negotiations and Plans. A steady drizzle blurred the sky like a veil, making the hidden rain village feel oppressive and gray. From the swirling portal, Obito stepped out, wearing his single-eyed mask. Under Conan's watchful gaze, he walked up the tower and down into its depths. After a long walk, he halted at a sealed chamber. Conan opened it and called inside, "Nagato, he's here." "Let him in," came the reply. Obito's lips curled into a smile as he entered. He took in the sight of Nagato, emaciated, seated in a specially built wooden carriage, and then his gaze fell to the Rinnegan in Nagato's eyes. "You've already heard from Konoha, haven't you?" he asked. Nagato answered with a cool, "Yes." Obito's tone hardened. "Our private squabbles are already jeopardizing the overall plan. If this continues, it benefits no one." Conan moved to Nagato's side and confronted Obito. You've been acting behind Nagato's back. How do you explain the Land of Demons incident? I don't remember Akatsuki ever planning to recruit a monster like that. Obito shrugged. I wanted backup in case something went wrong. Haven't you been recruiting on your own too? He meant Shinji, Haku, and Karen, the three who had repeatedly interfered with his operations. Konan, however, assumed he meant Hiroko and Raiga Kurosuke, whom she had secretly recruited. She bristled. If you hadn't broken the rules first, we wouldn't have felt the need to do this. What you did was reckless and far too conspicuous. Obito's expression darkened. He knew the truth. The people Konan was referring to were not hers, and the ones she assumed were his were not. But she had publicly admitted to recruiting, and that stung. You're the ones who went too far, he said coldly. You secretly recruited powerful members without telling me. Don't forget, we're up against the 5 great shinobi countries. If we tear each other apart, they're the only ones who will benefit. Conan's face hardened in return. Your recruits aren't weak either. A misunderstanding had tangled the two sides into suspicion. Konan had seen Shinji, Haku, and Karen repeatedly appear around the ninja world wearing Akatsuki cloaks. She concluded they were Obito's men. Later clashes between those three and Moryo and Shino only deepened her assumption. Because Obito and those others had never actually fought, they had repeatedly backed down, and Konan took that as deliberate restraint. Obito, meanwhile, seethed inwardly at being mocked. Moryo and Shino, his own recruits, had been badly beaten by those other cloaked operatives. Now Konan's words implied his side was weak, and he kept his silence, face dark. Konan took that silence as an admission. In her mind, the Akatsuki, excluding the already defected Orochimaru but including all secret members, totaled 17. Nagato, Konan, Kakuzu, Hidan, Sasori, Deidara, Hiroko, Raiga Kurosuke, Uchiha Itachi, Biwa Juzo, Obito, Zetsu, Moryo, Shino, and the 3 she thought were Obito's, Shinji, Haku, and Karen. Of those, she believed 8 clearly belonged to Obito's faction: Obito, Zetsu, Itachi, Moryo, Shino, Shinji, Haku, and Karen. 4 of them had the Mangekyo Sharingan, and several others possessed powerful Kekkei Genkai, like Ice Release. An internal civil war would be unpredictable. Obito, feeling the sharpness of Konan's hostility, grew solemn beneath his mask. After confirming that Shinji, Haku, and Karen were Nagato's people, he ran the numbers himself, though unaware Konan had secretly recruited Hiroko and Raiga, and concluded the Akatsuki had 15 members. In his count, Nagato's camp totaled 9, Nagato, Konan, Kakuzu, Hidan, Sasori, Deidara, plus the 3 he believed were Shinji, Haku, Karen, while his own side had only 6, even counting Itachi's partner Biwa Juzo. If open conflict broke out now, his side would be at a severe disadvantage. He decided to temporarily yield and maintain the cooperation, planning to dispose of Nagato once he was no longer useful. The 5 great shinobi countries were formidable, and they could not risk internal collapse before the Ten Tails plan was underway. Nagato, he said in a more measured voice, the 5 Kage have already reached a consensus in Konoha. If we bicker over small things now, our plan to collect the tailed beasts and revive the 10 Tails will be stillborn. I hope you understand. Nagato, who clearly also didn't want infighting before their plan began, nodded slightly. Our cooperation will continue, but your private actions must stop immediately. Your high profile is what drew the 5 great shinobi countries' attention prematurely. Obito did not press the point and quickly agreed. Fine. All private actions between you and me end now. Agreed, Nagato replied. Konan leaned in. To face the 5 great shinobi countries, we've decided to accelerate the plan. Obito, having already anticipated this, only asked, is the Outer Path demonic statue ready? It can't absorb tailed beasts yet, right? Nagato answered evenly. I'm responsible for the Outer Path demonic statue. You needn't worry about it. Konan added, even if the statue isn't fully prepared, that doesn't prevent us from capturing the Jinchuriki first. In the original timeline, the Akatsuki delayed collecting tailed beasts to prepare the Outer Path demonic statue, the husk of the 10 Tails, so weakened it could not yet contain the beasts. Summoning it had drained Nagato severely. Now, under pressure from the 5 great shinobi countries, they could not wait. Nagato and Konan had decided to take the offensive. If the nations wanted to round up Akatsuki members for information, the Akatsuki would seize the rival nation's Jinchuriki instead. With the Rinnegan, Nagato had methods to control Jinchuriki. They could trap and hold them while the statue recovered. When the statue was ready, they could extract the beasts and resurrect the 10 tails. Obito considered the logic and nodded. I approve. Among the 9 Jinchuriki, some were still children, Gaara, Fu, and Naruto, and thus easier targets. But others posed real difficulties. Kumogakure's 2 tails and 8 tails, Hidden Mist's 3 tails and 6 tails, and Iwagakure's 4 tails and 5 tails. Kumogakure and Hidden Mist were especially troublesome. Killing thought for a moment, then said, Kumogakure's Jinchuriki are the biggest problem. Yugido, Killer Bee, and Yagura are perfect Jinchuriki. The tailed beast and host work in harmony. Killer Bee, in particular, is Kumogakure's trump card. Juki is second only to the 9 tails. Obito agreed. If we move, we should hit Kumogakure first. If they go on alert, succeeding will become much harder. How do you plan to lure them? Conan asked. Obito smiled. They want to capture our people. We'll give them the perfect target. Have Kakuzu and Hidan deliberately make themselves visible near the land of the moon, by the land of lightning border. Kumogakure will send an elite team to ambush. We'll use that to spring our trap. If luck's on our side, we might capture both Jinchuriki at once. Conan knew the bait suited Kakuzu and Hidan well. She then turned to Obito. If this plan works, who handles which Jinchuriki? Nagato watched Obito for his answer. Obito had several Mangekyo Sharingan users under his command, so it seemed logical he could take the 8 tails. Conan suggested dividing the spoils. The 2 tails could be handled by Nagato's side, the 8 tails by Obito's. Obito considered the risk. The 2 tails was a perfect Jinchuriki, and battling the 4th Raikage with the 8 tails would be dangerous, but he nodded. All right, it's settled. With the division agreed, the operation's details were refined, and Obito left the tower. After he left, Conan said to Nagato, he didn't deny it. It seems those hooded Akatsuki operatives were all recruited by him. Nagato's earlier indifference vanished. His expression became grave. Have the others assist Hiruko in completing his ritual as soon as possible. We need that power. Understood. I'll arrange it, Conan replied. Outside the Hidden Rain village, Obito stepped from the warped portal and glanced back at the steady rain cloaking the town. Zetsu rose from the ground and asked, How did the talks go? Obito grunted. Smooth enough. Nagato admitted the cloaked operatives are his people. Zetsu exhaled. Confirmation solved nothing. Nagato had been intended only as a tool to collect the tailed beasts and then be removed from the stage. Now Nagato's recruitment of powerful members had made that far more complicated. Obito said, Have Morio help Shino finish the artificial tailed beast project. We need that power. Zetsu asked, Should we keep recruiting? Not yet, Obito said. Nagato warned me not to provoke him further. For now, everything focuses on reviving the 10 tails. He paused and then added with a dry chuckle. Besides, the 5 great shinobi countries are still out there. There will be casualties in the course of collecting the beasts. Chapter 157, Contact Spell. Inside the GB space, Shinji looked at Neji. Have you found anything? Neji's eyes flickered with hesitation. Shinji didn't press him and waited in silence. After a long moment, Neji spoke slowly. I did find something about the moon in the main house. But before we cooperate, there are a few questions I want you to answer. Go ahead, Shinji said calmly. First, Neji said, fixing his gaze on Shinji as if trying to see through the mask, what exactly does your Akatsuki organization want? In this GB space, his spiritual body was linked here only, so Neji couldn't use his Byakugan. Still, the question showed his distrust. Shinji explained, the Akatsuki exists for one purpose, to protect the ninja world. Protect the ninja world? Neji's expression darkened. Shinji's answer did not convince him. Do you call releasing sealed demon wisps, attacking and killing shinobi from the 5 great nations, abducting Sasuke to defect? Do you call those actions protecting the ninja world? Shinji let out a short laugh. Neji's face hardened. What's so funny? I think you should ask another question first, Shinji said. Who is the real Akatsuki? Neji frowned. What do you mean? Those actions you just listed, releasing demon wisps, attacking and killing shinobi from the 5 great nations, were not carried out by the true Akatsuki. Those people are traitors to the organization. They've fallen. Neji froze and muttered. So that's it. The contradictions he'd observed in recent Akatsuki behavior, like the severe infighting in the Land of Demons, suddenly made sense. A split had occurred. Only a handful of members still adhered to the Akatsuki's original ideals. Shinji sighed, and as he explained the situation, the pieces clicked in Neji's mind. He remembered seeing Shinji fight other Akatsuki members, how Shinji had opposed the Demon Wisp and others, and that confirmed there had to be a factional divide. If the Demon Wisp, the Shinobi who abducted Sasuke, and Uchiha Itachi's massacre were all villainous deeds, then Shinji's interference in those acts put him on the side of justice. As the hostility drained away from Neji's expression, Shinji asked, "Any other questions?" Neji shook his head. "No, as long as you don't harm the village or my comrades, I'm willing to cooperate." "Then tell me about the clues you found." Neji collected his thoughts and narrated how he'd infiltrated the main house and found a mysterious scroll hidden in a secret compartment. "What did the scroll contain?" Shinji asked. "A map, a mysterious jutsu, and a secret code," Neji replied. Shinji frowned. Neji continued, "I compared the map to charts of the countries. The place marked is within the Land of the Moon." Shinji tapped the stone table with his finger, recalling his memories of the moon. In the original timeline, when Naruto and others chased the Tenseigan puppet that had abducted Hanabi, they went north into snowy regions. The Land of the Moon lay near the Land of Lightning in the north, so a secret illusionary passage between the moon and the earth might indeed be hidden there. He offered Neji two choices. "We can go to the Land of the Moon together and look for the passage, or you can hand me the scroll and I'll go alone and report back." Neji didn't hesitate. "I'll go with you." "Can you get permission to leave Konoha?" Shinji asked. "The academy is on break," Neji said. "I can request leave under the pretext of training." "All right," Shinji said. "Prepare. We leave in 2 days." Neji was a branch family Hyuga branded with the caged bird curse mark. While the mark restricted his Byakugan, it also protected him from having it forcibly taken, so a formal training leave would likely be granted. 2 days later, Neji obtained his pass, slung his pack on his back, and left Konoha openly through the main gate. About 20 li from the village, he stopped. With a whoosh, a figure descended from the sky and landed before him, Shinji in Akatsuki garb. Knowing Neji had the Byakugan, Shinji wore both a mask and a transformation technique to conceal his identity. "Hello," Shinji said. Neji bowed. Shinji extended his hand. "Where's the scroll?" Neji drew it from his pack and handed it over. Shinji unrolled it and nodded. The scroll was exactly as described: map, jutsu, secret code. The jutsu in the center was intricate and bore a distinct Otsutsuki clan crest, clearly no ordinary technique. "What does this jutsu do? Is it for communication?" Shinji wondered aloud, then closed the scroll. They set off that instant. With tensions rising between the Akatsuki and the 5 great nations, Shinji avoided drawing attention. He and Neji took back roads and skirted towns. They traveled day and night and reached the Land of the Moon in 5 days. That night, they sat by a campfire, eating and studying the map. "The center of the map looks like a lake," Neji observed. "There are many lakes in the Land of the Moon," Shinji said, "but only a couple are surrounded by forest like the one on this map. We should find it quickly." Neji asked, "When we find it, what then?" "If I'm right, the marked location isn't a direct passage to the moon," Shinji said after thinking. "It's a meeting point." Neji understood immediately. A meeting place between our Hyuga clan and some mysterious clan on the moon. That jutsu is a contact spell to request a meeting. Shinji nodded. "Exactly." Neji frowned. "If that's true, it's a problem. Only the Hyuga main family, or the clan head, would be allowed to keep contact with the Otsutsuki on the moon. I'm only a branch family member with the caged bird mark. If I carve the contact jutsu and someone comes, they'll see who I am." "So we can't meet them in person," Shinji said. "What do you mean?" Neji asked. "Once we find the meeting point, we carve the contact jutsu and leave immediately. Then we monitor from a distance. When someone from the moon comes, we follow them and find the secret passage." Neji agreed. It was the safest option. At dawn, they split up, comparing lakes one by one. Because the map was detailed, they located the target lake in a day and followed the scroll's clues to a cliff marked on the map. Under the night sky, the two landed on the cliff and scouted separately. A short while later, they regrouped. "I used my Byakugan," Neji reported. "This cliff is ordinary, no mechanisms at all. Shinji walked to the cliff's edge and pointed to a rock with a hollowed center. Look up through this. Neji peered through the hollow and saw the bright full moon framed in the opening. It's the moon, he breathed. This must be the meeting point, Shinji said. From the cliff, he could see the forest-encircled lake in the distance. Shall we carve the contact jutsu now? Do it, Shinji decided. Neji, following the scroll's instructions, carefully carved the complex jutsu into the cliff face. When the carving was finished, he poured his Byakugan chakra into the sigils and recited the secret code written on the scroll. Almost instantly, Shinji felt a chill in his chest, a sensation of being watched, like something vast and probing had glanced at him. His first thought was of the giant Tenseigan on the moon. He shouted to Neji, "Go!" Startled, Neji followed as Shinji leaped off the cliff. They fled more than 10 li and finally stopped on a vantage cliff where they could catch their breath. What happened? Neji asked. Didn't you feel anything back there? Shinji asked. Neji shook his head, bewildered. No, I didn't sense anything. Shinji tightened his grip on his emotions. The sensation had been unmistakable, a prying, overwhelming gaze that stripped away covers as if exposing him completely. If he had hesitated any longer, he might have been locked onto by that giant Tenseigan. The feeling faded after they put distance between them. Shinji realized they had escaped its attention. At present, no one among the Otsutsuki on the moon possessed a true Tenseigan. They controlled that giant Tenseigan indirectly through bloodline techniques and jutsu. That indirect control might explain why Neji, even with his Byakugan, hadn't detected the gaze. They stood in the night, the moon high above, the contact spell they had carved glowing faintly behind them, and both understood that their discovery had drawn eyes from above, eyes that they would have to watch carefully from now on. Chapter 158. Go to the Moon Land of the Moon. Kakuzu and Hidan melted into the night after leaving the marketplace. A pair of eyes watched them slip away from within the crowd and then vanished. A short while later, a messenger eagle took to the sky, its cries cutting through the night as it flew toward the land of lightning. On a high cliff nearby, Conan stood silently until the eagle was a speck against the stars. Prepare to move, she said quietly. Understood. Sasori and Deidara nodded and turned to go. On another cliff, Obito sat on the edge, watching the distant bird with a small, satisfied laugh. Looks like the message went through. The plan is about to start. Zetsu beside him said, with the Raikage's temper, they won't make us wait long. Obito rose. Tell Morio and Shino to get ready. This is our first official operation to revive the Ten Tails. We cannot afford failure. Zetsu hesitated. Are we really going after the Eight Tails Jinchuriki? That one's not easy. Kumogakure's 2 Jinchuriki are the biggest problems, Obito said. They have to be neutralized first. On this, our goals line up with Nagato's. If we only send Morio and Shino, it might not be enough, Zetsu warned. Don't worry, I'll act when it counts, Obito promised. On a cliff face crisscrossed with seals and eye technique scripts, a soft whoosh announced a landing. A figure surveyed the area, then walked to the contact eye technique Neji had inscribed and reached out to touch it. Watching from a distance, Neji's Byakugan tightened. Something's wrong. Shinji beside him asked, What is it? There are no chakra pathways. Neji faltered, disbelief in his voice. He's not alive. He's a puppet. But where's the puppeteer? A puppet, huh? Shinji sounded unsurprised. The giant Tenseigan granted several abilities. One of them was the power to give puppets basic intelligence, letting them act autonomously. This one was clearly a Tenseigan puppet. After searching the cliff without success, the puppet erased the contact seal, blinked out, and left. Follow it, Shinji ordered. They tracked it through the woods until it reached the lake. Neji watched with Byakugan. Where is it going? Shinji said, It'll head back to the moon. If we follow it, we'll find the secret passage. Neji frowned. It's strange that a puppet can move on its own without a puppeteer. Shinji explained, it's one of the Tenseigan's tricks. It can give puppets low-level intelligence, enough judgment to act without constant control. How can that be? Neji exclaimed. With a dojutsu bloodline limit like the Tenseigan, nothing should surprise you, Shinji said coolly. Neji's eyes brightened with hope. Sir, can I awaken the Tenseigan? Shinji was quiet a moment before shaking his head. Neji's face fell. No? I don't know, Shinji admitted. Theoretically, you meet the conditions to awaken it, but how exactly to do so, I cannot say. Where's the answer? Neji pressed. On the moon. Shinji's tone held a hint of gravity. Neji blinked. The moon? Shinji shared what he knew. There's a giant Tensegan on the moon. A giant Tensegan? Neji repeated, baffled. Think of it as the convergence of countless Byakugan, Shinji said slowly. The giant Tensegan is formed by gathering the Byakugan of the Otsutsuki who are on the moon. It's the true treasure of the clan. That's why I said you have the conditions for awakening the Tensegan. The Byakugan is its foundation. Neji asked, are the Otsutsuki on the moon free of the caged bird curse mark? No, Shinji shook his head. And not having that mark isn't necessarily better. Having it isn't necessarily worse either. You'll see what I mean soon enough. Shinji fell silent and they resumed their pursuit. The puppet dove through a waterfall without hesitation. Shinji and Neji followed. Under the curtain of water, Neji's Byakugan revealed a hidden cavern and a glowing spring deep inside. This entrance is well concealed, Shinji said, as they surfaced beneath the falls. An ordinary person wouldn't find it. Neji agreed. The water curtain interferes with Byakugan observation. If I hadn't seen the puppet jump in, I wouldn't have found it. Inside the cavern, they found a pool that shimmered oddly. Neji frowned. This pool is strange. It refracts vision. My Byakugan can't see what's beneath the surface. Shinji scooped up some water. It's not ordinary. This is a secret passage to the moon, an eye technique illusion. Be careful. He let the water seep through his hand until it vanished, then plunged in. Neji followed. They broke through another curtain of water into a place where clusters of light floated and space warped. Up and down blurred, directions lost meaning. A cluster of light shot at Shinji. Caught off guard, he was wrapped in its glow. Suddenly he saw a morgue, a white sheet over a body, footsteps echoing. For a moment, Shinji's emotions flared, confusion, fear, then cold anger. He snorted and opened his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. The illusions shattered, the pond and its light returned. These light clusters are illusions. Touch one, and it traps you inside memories. He looked and saw Neji enveloped in a cluster, asleep in the memory trap, reliving childhood scenes. Shinji swam to him and shouted, "Release!" Neji woke a few breaths later, dazed. What happened? These light clusters are eye technique traps that control you with memories, Shinji said. Neji's expression stiffened as he realized how close he'd come to being lost in that illusion. Thank you, sir, he said after collecting himself. If not for you. Shinji waved it off and dove deeper. In that distorted space, they found another water surface. Why is there another surface? Neji asked in shock. Shinji activated his eternal Mangekyo and studied the area. This pond is an illusionary passage. It blends real and fake. As long as we pass through the next water curtain, we should reach the moon. They pushed through and emerged into a cavern where gravity and direction returned. Before they could take in their surroundings, a deep rumble sounded, and a colossal creature skittered out of the shadows, a giant crab, apparently a guardian. Neji cried out, "A huge crab! Is it a guard?" Golden light flared from Shinji. A towering golden Susanoo formed, skeletal and terrible. It punched the crab, then seized its massive pincers. With a brutal twist, Susanoo tore them off. The crab reared, opening its maw, but another Susanoo blow shattered its shell and impaled it. The creature collapsed and went still. Shinji relaxed his Susanoo. Neji stood dumbfounded. This was no ordinary summoned beast. It was powerful, a guardian entrusted to the place by the Otsutsuki. Yet before Shinji, it was no match. The more Neji understood of this Akatsuki leader, the more awe filled him. Shinji didn't linger. He glanced toward the passage above. Let's go. They climbed out and stepped onto a surface that took their breath away. Neji stared upward. Sir, what is this place? The interior of the moon, Shinji said. Neji pointed at the sun high overhead. Then the sun? A false sun cast by the giant Tensegan, Shinji said, looking at the curved ground in the distance. We're inside a vast hollow. No doubt about it. We've arrived on the moon. Chapter 159. Request from Otsutsuki Hamura, Land of Lightning, Cloud Gorge. Whoosh. A cloud ninja descended from the sky and stood before Killer Bee, bowing as he said, Lord Killer Bee, Lord Raikage has sent word. He requests your presence. Killer Bee, notebook in hand and musing over lyrics, bobbed his head. Yeah? The messenger's face darkened with urgency. Lord Killer Bee, this operation is extremely urgent. Lord Raikage asks that you come at once. Got it, got it. Killer Bee snapped his notebook shut and stretched. The messenger relaxed a little and went on. Lady Yugito Ni and her squad are on their way. After meeting with you, she will accompany you to see Lord Raikage. Killer Bee's lazy gaze sharpened. Yugito Ni is involved too? Yes, Killer Bee frowned. This isn't a war with Konoha, is it? He had been training out in the gorge and hadn't kept up with world news. Hearing that the Raikage himself was leading the operation, and that both he and Yugito, Jinchuriki, were to participate, his mind leapt to the worst, war. He couldn't imagine any other mission that would assemble such a lineup. The messenger produced intelligence on the Akatsuki organization and handed it over. Lord Killer Bee, this Akatsuki is extraordinary. Lord Raikage went to Konoha for the 5 Kage Summit specifically to discuss dealing with them. Killer Bee skimmed the files. Surprise creased his features. Like many leaders of the 5 great nations, he'd tended to dismiss black market bounty ninja organizations as sewer rats, irritating but manageable. But the Akatsuki was different. An alliance of S-rank criminals, many rogue shinobi from various villages, including those blamed for killing the 3rd Kazekage, Sasori of the Red Sand, and even the annihilation of the Uchiha clan by Itachi. No wonder the Raikage was personally involved. Understood, Killer Bee muttered, setting aside his disdain. Swish. Whooshing heralded the arrival of a 4-man squad. Yugito Ni, the Two-Tails Jinchuriki, landed and asked impatiently, Killer Bee, ready? Killer Bee's eyes slid over the 3 kunoichi behind her. His expression tightened. Karui possessed the storm-release Kekkei Genkai and was an elite jonin. Samui was a versatile elite jonin skilled in genjutsu, medical ninjutsu, and sensing. Gessa was an elite jonin with the magnet release. Between Yugito's 4-person team and Killer Bee and the 4th Raikage's combined strength, they'd be more than enough to handle a Kage-level threat. The message-bearing ninja stepped forward again. Lord Killer Bee, Lady Yugito Ni, Lord Raikage awaits you both in the land of the moon. Please proceed immediately. Let's go, Killer Bee said. Right. Yugito didn't waste words. She flashed into motion beside him, and in an instant the squad, 2 Jinchuriki and 3 elite jonin, blurred into black specks and vanished into the gorge. Walking through a desolate, crumbling town on the moon, Neiji's face showed disbelief. I never imagined a settlement this large up here. Shinji's eyes were equally curious. He'd known the Otsutsuki clan had lived on the moon, and that the clan had been considerable, but seeing its ruins in person still shocked him. Neji stooped to pick up a broken kunai. Even a kunai forged from fine steel is completely rusted. This place has been abandoned for a long time. Why would such a large town be deserted? Look around, Shinji told him. Neji scanned the ruins and then blurted, It looks like a battlefield. Wait, weren't only the Otsutsuki up here? Who would they fight? Shinji remained quiet for a moment before answering. The Otsutsuki on the moon, like your Hyuga, were divided into a main family and a branch family. But there was no caged bird curse mark here to give the main family total control over the branch family. Over time, their contradictions escalated into war. Neiji's eyes widened. Then what happened? Shinji's voice was low. At first, the main family was stronger, but the branch family resorted to desperate measures. They sacrificed many of their own and used the combined Byakugan of their clansmen to form a giant Tenseigen. With that, they swept the battlefield and nearly exterminated the main family. What? Neji was stunned. He hadn't imagined the civil war on the moon could be so brutal, one side utterly massacred. The ruined town suddenly felt like a tomb of the Otsutsuki. They pressed on and soon reached a ruined stone temple. Carved on an altar was a line of text. Ancient oath, if human morality decays, the Tenseigen shall awaken, and humankind shall be annihilated by the moon's fist. Neji frowned more deeply as he read aloud. What does annihilated by the moon's fist mean? Shinji explained. This was likely an agreement between Otsutsuki Hamura, the Six-Path Sage's younger brother, and the sage himself. After defeating and sealing the rabbit goddess, Hamura took up residence on the moon to guard that seal. He and the sage agreed that if humanity taught by the sage degenerated, Hamura would intervene to cleanse the world and rebuild order. Neji felt as if myth had come alive. This is supposed to be a legend. Legends? Shinji gave a dry smile. What do you think the moon's fist is? Neji looked blank. Shinji pointed around. Neji's expression shifted to shock. You mean the entire moon could be the moon's fist? Shinji nodded. Exactly. How could that even be possible? Shinji's face was grave. In front of a giant Tenseigan, nothing is impossible. Perhaps the remaining Otsutsuki branch family intends to use the giant Tenseigan to pull the moon into collision with Earth, delivering the moon's fist to annihilate humanity. Neji's panic flared. We can't let that happen, Shinji breathed out. A weapon of that scale cannot be left in the hands of fanatics. Rumble. The altar cracked open, revealing a downward secret passage. Shinji's eyes narrowed, and he thought to himself that bringing Neji along had been the right choice. There's a chamber beneath the altar, Neji said, surprised. Let's go down and see. They descended into a dim hall. The faint light was enough for 2 dojutsu users to make out the room's contents. The chamber was a tomb lined with circular graves stretching into darkness. They couldn't guess how many lay within. Then a figure emerged from the shadows. Who's there? Neji called. The stranger staggered forward, muttering, Byakugan? I sense the Byakugan. Shinji took in the man. He appeared to be in his 40s or 50s, clad in Otsutsuki attire, skin as pale as death. Most strikingly, his eye sockets were hollow, no eyes remained. The man opened his mouth and expelled a glowing ball of light. It hovered, then burst. Neji cried out, frozen by the vision. What did you see? Shinji asked. After a long moment, Neji said, In that light I saw the great battle between the main and branch families. I saw the giant Tenseigan. On the field, the main family was slaughtered under it. The strange man crumbled with a rattle, collapsing to the floor. With his head tilted, he whispered, You must stop the Otsutsuki. Neji knelt to inspect him, dazed. Shinji waited in silence. When Neji finally regained himself, he told Shinji, I saw Otsutsuki Hamura, the younger brother of the Six Paths sage. In that vision? Shinji asked. Neji nodded. Yes. Just as you said, the branch family used the giant Tenseigan to destroy the main family. They twisted Hamura's last words. They truly intend to use the giant Tenseigan to destroy Earth. Shinji's expression darkened. What did Hamura ask? Neji hesitated, then said, He asked me to destroy the branch family's giant Tenseigan to stop the catastrophe. At first glance, that request seemed straightforward. Destroy the giant Tenseigan, and the branch family would lose the power to strike Earth. But Shinji's mind raced. The giant Tenseigan on the moon was formed by the combined Byakugan of the Otsutsuki there. It was the embodiment of that branch's power. Destroying it would annihilate this branch's existence. That thought made Shinji uneasy. Why would Hamura ask a Hyuga like Neji to obliterate the very power that defined the clan? Perhaps Hamura didn't trust anyone to control the Tenseigan and preferred it destroyed. Shinji realized there was another option. Currently, the moon had only that single giant Tenseigan. No individual among the branch family yet possessed a normal Tenseigan. It would be 8 or 9 years, according to the original timeline, before Otsutsuki Toneri could transplant Hanabi's Byakugan and form a personal Tenseigan. For now, the branch family could only control the giant Tenseigan indirectly, through techniques or incantations. This was an opportunity. If Shinji could steal the techniques or incantations the branch family used to command the giant Tenseigan, or find a way for Neji to obtain a Tenseigan before Toneri, he might bypass the branch family's control and seize the giant Tenseigan himself. After leaving the underground chamber, Shinji and Neji moved stealthily and soon reached the stronghold where the branch family dwelt. 1, 2, 3, 41, 42. Neji's features tightened. There are 42 outposts around the castle, and each is a Tenseigan puppet, hundreds in total. Shinji shook his head, and you haven't counted the ones above yet. Neji looked up. Beyond the barrier that surrounded the castle, black specks dotted the sky, Tenseigan puppets mounted on puppet birds, more than 100 of them. Neji was speechless. The branch family's castle was protected by a massive barrier and ringed by countless Tenseigan puppets. Even with the Byakugan, infiltration would be difficult. Shinji, too, felt the difficulty weighing on him. He knew from the original timeline that Toneri's world-ending plan was still years away, and he wasn't sure how many survivors the branch family still had. With the giant Tenseigan and the host of puppets defending the stronghold, sneaking in and stealing the means to control the Giant Tenseigan would not be easy. Shinji allowed himself one cold, determined thought. If there was a way to get Neji a Tenseigan, or to uncover the incantations the branch family used, it would become possible to take control of the moon's ultimate weapon before its power could be turned against Earth. Chapter 160, Giant Tenseigan. Facing the impregnable Otsutsuki branch family castle, Shinji did not rush. He hid in the dense forest far away and watched carefully. Even with an eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, he had no right to stride onto the moon openly. If the Otsutsuki branch family discovered him, let alone learned he coveted the Giant Tenseigan, whether he could leave the moon alive was doubtful. Caution was justified. After all, finding the secret passage to the castle had already made the trip worthwhile. "Lord, look," Neji said, pointing into the distance. Following Neji's gesture, Shinji saw a pair of Tenseigan puppets walking in formation toward the castle. "A change of guard?" he murmured. Shinji's gaze sharpened. Even puppets needed chakra replenishment and maintenance. Their return to the castle in formation was an opportunity. He drew Neji closer and had him use his Byakugan to track the puppet's route. Soon, they discovered a hidden passage tucked away in a secluded corner. Whenever a Tenseigan puppet approached the passage entrance, the protective barrier would automatically open, allowing the puppet to enter or exit the castle. "We can hijack one of those puppets and slip into the castle through that secret passage," Neji whispered. Shinji hesitated. Ordinary Tenseigan puppets were generally at Chunin level. Taking one or two wasn't difficult. The bigger problem was the castle's interior, unknown layout, countless puppets, and the possibility of being pursued by branch family members. Once discovered, escape would be difficult. Otsutsuki Toneri was only a year or two older than him and not fully matured. Other branch family members were likely old and frail. This was a relatively weak window for the branch family, and if he didn't take risks now, it would be much harder to target the Giant Tenseigan later when Toneri grew stronger. After weighing his options, Shinji addressed Neji. "Our primary goal is intelligence gathering. Stealth first. Do not act rashly. Follow my orders." "Yes," Neji answered solemnly. He had accepted Otsutsuki Hamura's request and knew the history between the branch family and the main clan. He understood that if the branch family weren't stopped, the Earth would eventually suffer catastrophe. He was cautious but ready. They targeted a lone Tenseigan puppet. Shinji used body flicker to appear behind it. His Susanoo materialized instantly. Its giant skeletal hand seized the puppet and froze it. He hauled the puppet to the secret passage entrance. As soon as the puppet's Tenseigan chakra was sensed, the barrier opened a gap, revealing the passage. The two exchanged glances and dashed in. Inside, Shinji activated Susanoo and crushed the puppet he'd been holding. The scrap of metal and chakra components clattered and thudded. Neji asked quietly, "Lord, what now?" Shinji deactivated his Susanoo. "Without the protective barrier, your Byakugan should work normally, right? Our priority is locating the Giant Tenseigan." Neji nodded and scanned with his Byakugan. After a long moment, he said, "There are several areas in the castle my Byakugan can't see into. I suspect the Giant Tenseigan is hidden in one of them." Shinji remembered that the Giant Tenseigan had been stored in a floating temple. "Where are those blind spots roughly located?" he asked. Neji pointed to several directions. Shinji considered, then picked one. "We'll check this one first." They moved stealthily along the passage. With the Byakugan guiding them, they avoided patrolling puppets and, after much careful maneuvering, reached the upper levels of the castle. When they emerged, their view opened wide. Floating stone mountains drifted around the castle, each with towers or temples built on them. Ribbons of rubble connected these islands, like bridges of debris. The whole site was beautiful and otherworldly. "I never imagined a place like this existed on the moon," Neji breathed. "Quick, see which of those floating isles can block your Byakugan," Shinji said. Neji pointed to a stone mountain topped by a temple. "That one." Shinji's eyes lit. The Giant Tenseigan was likely hidden in the temple on that island. He suppressed his excitement and scanned the sky. Even inside the barrier, Tenseigan puppets rode puppet birds on patrol. The puppets here looked more complex than those outside. High-level models, the same type Toneri had used to abduct Hanabi in the original timeline. Their strength could rival Jonin level. If he were drawn into a fight with them, escape would not be easy. Shinji led Neji back into the passage and waited for the right moment. Hours passed. At last, the high-level puppets landed on towers across the islands, apparently to replenish their Tenseigan chakra. Now, Shinji whispered, and they moved. Using the cover of floating rubble belts, the two crept toward the temple island. Shinji even hid in the shadows of the debris for hours to be safe. At last, they reached the stone mountain and slipped into the temple. Once inside, Neji's Byakugan penetration was greatly limited by the giant Tenseigan. The observable distance shrank, but there were no high-level puppets at the temple itself. They walked deeper and soon reached the main hall. Unlike the dim corridors, the main hall was bathed in gold. Suspended in its center, the giant Tenseigan hung like a star. Rings of huge golden orbits circled it. From a distance, the whole arrangement resembled a massive globe. Shinji and Neji landed on one of the rings to get a closer look. This, Neji paused. It's bigger than the giant Tenseigan I saw in that ball of light. That's normal, Shinji said. What you saw before was an initial condensation by the branch family. After they defeated the main clan and collected their Byakugan, they condensed them onto this giant Tenseigan. What's here now is larger and far stronger than what existed during the Otsutsuki Civil War. Neji frowned. Lord, Otsutsuki Hamura asked me to destroy this. How should we do it? Shinji looked at the brilliant star-like eye and spoke slowly. This giant Tenseigan is not just a treasure of the Otsutsuki clan, it's one of the greatest relics in the Shinobi world. It would be tragic to destroy it out of spite for the branch family. Neji studied him. Then what do you propose? Shinji's eyes narrowed. If we can free this giant Tenseigan from the branch family's control, the moon's fist will not fall. Even if he weren't a lantern-bearer responsible for protecting the Shinobi world, Shinji would not destroy the magnificent eye before him. Neji hesitated. He wanted to honor his ancestors' plea and erase the branch family's threat, but he also felt a deep, mysterious connection to the giant Tenseigan as a descendant of Otsutsuki Hamura. He could sense its enormous power. Compared to it, the demon wisp that had haunted him seemed trivial. To break free from the caged bird curse, he felt he might need the giant Tenseigan's power. How dare you trespass here? A voice suddenly shouted. Shinji spun. An old man in Otsutsuki robes stood in the hall, glaring at them. This is bad, Neji murmured. The man was clearly alive, not a puppet. Shinji acted immediately. He flickered forward, Susanoo erupting around him, and launched a punch at the elder. Oh, Mangekyo Sharingan, the elder exclaimed, startled, but he did not flinch. His body blurred, and he evaded the Susanoo blow, forming hand signs as if to seize the giant Tenseigan. Neji lunged with gentle fist. The elder sidestepped, interrupting his hand signs. A strange look flashed across his face. Byakugan, who are you and why are you in my clan's temple? He demanded. Seizing the distraction, Shinji thought, Amaterasu. Black flames ignited on the elder's chest. The elder cried out and despite the pain snarled, Filthy ninja, you court death. He thrashed and tried to finish his hand signs. To him, if he could complete the jutsu to control the giant Tenseigan, the two intruders would be nothing. The giant Tenseigan could absorb non-Byakugan chakra. Any ninjutsu the elder cast would simply be drained into the eye. Shinji, who had unleashed his most powerful techniques, could not allow that. He surged forward as the black flames burned the elder, and his Susanoo shifted from its skeletal form into a half-armored samurai, drawing a blade and slashing fiercely. A roar echoed through the temple. To Shinji's shock, the elder, engulfed in Amaterasu, blocked the Susanoo's longsword with a single bare hand. The blade began to melt as if dissolved, the metal sagging and losing its shape. The melting spread rapidly until the Susanoo itself began to deteriorate. Amaterasu too was being absorbed. Humph, lowly ninjas, dare to offend my Otsutsuki clan, the elder sneered. Shinji's pupils constricted. A massive Tenseigan aura surged from the elder's body. He realized with dawning horror that the man was linked to the giant Tenseigan. It was the same overwhelming drainage he'd seen in the original timeline when Toneri used the eye to suck Naruto's chakra. The giant Tenseigan suppressed all non-Otsutsuki Hamura lineage ninjutsu. Shinji wanted to retreat. In the instant he prepared to pull back, a figure flashed past behind the elder. With a cold glint, The elder's head toppled from his shoulders. His face froze in shock. Behind the severed body stood Neji, a blood-stained kunai in his hand.